Ready? Can we all rise for the salute to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome and to the September meeting of the Town Board, and it's nice to actually have audience. The last 2 months we've had nobody, not a soul here. We must be doing something right or wrong. I'm not sure how it works, but okay. Monthly meeting, approval of minutes from the monthly meeting of August 4th, 2022. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Okay, committee reports. Conservation Board.
Conservation Board did not meet in August. The next meeting is this upcoming Tuesday, September 13th at 7:30 p.m. here.
Thank you, Jason.
Yep.
Recreation.
Good evening. Recreation did not meet in August, but the meeting in September is Tuesday, September 13th. Their summer camp was a tremendous success, so thank you to all the Recreation Department staff. And there is a new interim director, Cecilia Rohrs, has started. So
It kind of went off seamlessly.
it went off seamlessly, and you know, it was parents and children were very happy with the experience. It was a very seamless, smooth, and the transition from Amber to Cecily was seamless and smooth.
I stopped down on several occasions, and it seemed like chaos, but every kid was accounted for. They knew where they were going, where they'd come from, and where the parents should pick them up. So thank you, Cecily, and the whole staff, Sue and the rest of the staff. Okay, that's it? You're all
Yes,
set? Okay.
thank you. The next meeting, as I said, September 13th.
Okay.
For anyone who
Phillipstown Hub, that's you too, Jim.
Yes, sure. The Philipstown Hub had a busy week, and we'd like to thank them for the beautiful overdose awareness ceremony at the waterfront last week, which was to remember the residents of Philipstown that we lost to drug overdoses, which was the reason the hub was founded, and to provide comfort to the families that are residents of Philipstown. That event was followed by a 5K run last Saturday, which was a wonderful run. Several members of the board here walked, and I believe Supervisor Van Tassel ran.
Show off.
But we enjoyed the walk, and we're happy to participate and see the turnout in Phillipstown. I met with the new executive director, Lori Segolis, who attended a previous board meeting, and she gave me a brief report, which I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I will read part of it. They are planning to meet with other groups in the community, the hub, to plan advocacy and planning for working together in partnership. They have had meetings also with the local police and the sheriff's department to assist them and, you know, to really provide support to the community members that are affected by addiction and need also mental health support. They've met with Putnam County because of the opioid settlement funds that have been received by the county, and hopefully the Philipstown Hub will receive some of that funding for their initiatives. And they are continuing to meet with others in the community to do a community needs assessment and data workshop. So you will be hearing more from the hub over the next few months, and you know, next month we'll report back. But I just want to say, for any information, you can go to phillipstownhub.org for any information in the annual report if you would like more detail.
Yeah, I spent some time with Lori at the hub tent, and she is like all over everything. She's seeking funding really aggressively, and you know, Danielle was very hard to replace, but I think they've made a great selection, and Lori is working very hard to keep the hub successful. So thank you.
Yes, and they have a great care coordination team too, so it's really great support, and Lori's leadership has been very strong, you know, over the past couple of months. So.
Okay, thank you very much. Planning Board.
The Planning Board did not meet. This is the first time in 2 summers that they did not meet. So even though they had a pretty busy schedule, they did decide to take the month off. They will be meeting a week from this tonight on the 15th to pick up where they left off 2 months ago.
Okay, thank you, Bob. Zoning.
Hi, everybody. I hope you all enjoyed your summer. And the zoning board did not meet in the month of August. They did approve their minutes. They will be meeting in September 12th at 7:30, and they will be approving their minutes for July. So
Did meet?
Yeah.
This-
we're slightly
It's typically-
overachievers there, John Van Tassel.
Should I make note of that for next year?
No.
Okay, thank you, Bob, and thank you, Megan.
Megan.
Highway.
Okay, I have the highway report here submitted by our highway superintendent, Adam Holtelling. Work performed by the highway superintendent for the month of August. The crews are very busy this month, continuing pipe replacements, repairing curbs and gutters, roadside mowing, trimming, and new signs installing for repair. Also, there was been a daily crew out grading the dirt roads with the lack of rain. The water truck has been very busy keeping the dust control down. It was nice to see we get a little rain here early in the week. I hope we get a little bit more, but as everyone knows, we're in a pretty bad situation when it comes to water. We were asking residents to please pay attention to speed limit signs. We receive daily new speed signs, of reports of people speeding and not paying attention while they're driving. So please be careful, especially when road crews are out there working on roads. We'd hate for someone to get hit by a car accidentally. So please be careful and slow down and obey the speed signs. Please consider our crews working on the roads. The roads are narrow, and some places with heavy equipment, the workers are hard to see at certain points, so please be careful. FY coming up, road closures. New York State will be paving Route 9D from Manitou Station Road down to Route 6. As everyone knows, that road is a mess, and it really needs a new surface, so they're going to be doing that next week, as a matter of fact. We resurfaced Manitou Station Road all the way from the train tracks all the way up to 9D. There was 625 tons of blacktop used on that, and looks very nice. If anyone takes a ride down there, it looks really great. Nice job. Highway Department has added 2 new crew members. John Palmieri, he's our new mechanic, and he's in the shop, and Robert Kibble, who joins as a truck driver. Welcome aboard, both guys. The garage update, the garage is coming along. We plan on having all the work bays completed before the end of this month, so we can move out of all our equipment that's currently being rented down here in Nelsonville up to there. The office probably won't be ready for another month after that. The plan is, though, to have the working bays operational before the end of this month. The Highway Department received 35 calls and emails regarding road complaints and issues during the month of August. Also spent $9,600 on vehicle maintenance. Submitted, Adam Holtelling, Highway Superintendent. Thank you, Adam.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Adam. Just a couple notes. We will be moving in there the end of September, whether they're ready or not.
No.
We have to be out of the where we're renting garage space, so I don't think it'll be a problem. So we'll get the stuff in there. And that the paving from Manitou Station Road down to the Bear Mountain Bridge, I got a call right after New Year's when James Skoufis was our senator for that 1 month period. They were doing the state budget. He said, "What is the worst road, state road in the town of Phillipstown?" And I said, "It's 9D from Manitou Station Road down to the Bear Mountain Bridge." And lo and behold, we're getting it paved. So thank you to Mr. Skoufis.
I'd just like to bring one little item up around Route 9. The bridge that was under repair all summer is back. We have 2 lanes going each way now, and I gotta say, the state, I gotta give them some credit.
Yes.
They stayed within the time frame they were supposed to, and they opened it up as they said they would. So I gotta give them a little bit of credit. We were a little leery in the beginning. We did have some issues when we first put that red light up. But after the first few weeks, everything seemed to calm down, and the traffic backup really was tolerable.
There was a lot of communication. They were very amenable to suggestions. So, yes,
So anyway,
I agree.
like I said, now they can take their time and get that done. I think it's supposed to be done before the year's out, but we'll see.
October, I believe.
That's what they said.
Yeah, so let's hope it works. Okay, building and land acquisitions. We did give you an update on the highway garage, and that's about anything else?
No, that's the only thing that I'm aware of. I mean, the Garrison Water District, we can discuss later.
We'll talk about that later. Cemetery Committee.
We didn't meet in August. I did do some email correspondence with them, and they will be doing the flags for Veterans Day in November. And at the moment, we're still just waiting for that small budget to be passed for the maintenance gentleman to continue doing the stones. So,
All righty, thank you. Putnam County Legislator. I think there she is right there. She dropped her
Hi
fishing
there.
pole on the way up the
I
stairs.
put on my best fishing shirt for you.
Well, welcome.
Thank you. Good to see you. Just quick ARPA update and share the growth. I checked in with our comptroller today, and I'm sure you're all wondering what the status is, as I still am, and it's still, kind of vague. So I just want to read details. The law department is preparing the intermunicipal agreements. I'm not sure if they informed you of that. No. So once executed, it will allow for the disbursement of the funds. The IMA indicates that the funds will be dispersed on a reimbursement basis. Were you aware of that?
No.
Wow. Okay, so I'm sorry. I am really sorry about this process.
That's okay.
So,
As long as we get a check, it's okay.
well, you have to spend it.
Show you spent
So
it, then
that was
get
not made
reimbursed.
clear to you.
No, that was not.
No. So, as is done with most state grants, in other words, the town will make the expenditure, provided invoices, canceled check copies, et cetera, to the county, and then the county will reimburse. Currently, the county needs no information from the town. I asked them if they were waiting, because, well, we're waiting for the check, I would imagine. And they're not in need of any more information from you, just until the IMA is prepared by the county attorney. So if I can bring them more questions, if you have direct questions, you want to talk to the county executive directly.
On that?
Well,
Do we
the
have to spend
time
money
limit,
within a certain period of time?
There's a federal time limit.
there's a federal time limit.
2024.
Yeah.
So that shouldn't apply.
So there is time. So, I mean, maybe I'm a bit nervous because it's going to be the end of the year. There will be a new administration. I'm not an attorney, but I imagine that because of the resolutions that are in place and the agreements that were made, they have to, come through with that funding, even though there will be a new administration.
I've been asked to meet with the prospective new administration. I'm meeting with them the end of September. So, of course, that's going to be the topic of my discussion with them, without a doubt, as to, the commitment has been made. We're banking on it pretty much. Is it going to follow through? And I did have a teleconference with the current county executive, and she said it's pretty much set in stone because of the fact that the legislature, and it's been through her office and the legislature, as well as the share of growth. You were on the call too. So, Jason, if you wanted anything to add, I think we were pretty much convinced that it should stay in place.
For this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The share of the growth we won't see any of that until the end of April, when the county closes their books, is what we were told. Then once the county closes their books, then they could project what the share of the growth will be for each township. That was my understanding.
Yeah, mine as well.
We will push for the share the growth for years to come, as we have for the past 15 years. So, but our hope is that will continue. It's not the information that I've received from other conversations is that the new administration isn't keen on that. So maybe we could make that bridge.
Well, this commitment has gone throughout the county, so it's not just for Phillipstown.
Yeah, I want to build on it. We got 15 years.
But
yeah.
the entire county each township is getting a share of this. So if there were a rollback on that, I think it would be not well received throughout the county.
There won't be. I don't believe there will be.
Maybe in the future, there's a possibility he may not want to do it, because I read it in the paper twice. He's not in favor already, so.
Yeah. The hope is to build on it and to see it in the years to come. And
Thanks to
Everybody. I know, Nancy, you've been pushing it, Richard Shea, John, you have, and so it was just, the right idea, right time. Nancy, do you know if that reimbursement is for both the ARPA funding and the share of the growth? Are they saying both are going to have to be reimbursed?
The comptroller just indicated that it was for the ARPA funding, and I did ask about the share of the growth, but he didn't give me any information, but I'll follow up on that tomorrow.
That would be pretty difficult, because you would have to spend money based on a projection and then get a reimbursement. I don't think that could I don't see how that formula would work at all, but.
I agree.
And again, I apologize for the process. I wasn't involved with it, but, from the beginning, the arbitrary rules and, stipulations that came about after the fact, after you had submitted everything. So,
Well, the interesting thing is, I brought this up when we were at the meeting, is the county and the town have hired the same consultant to assist us. Because none of us have been through this before, and I said this at the county. But we're both using the same consultant, so I would think the rules that they're following and that we're following should be pretty similar.
there were no rules. As you know, when the administration, the county executive's office announced how they were spending the ARPA funding, we weren't informed until maybe the week before we had to vote on it. And it was just a pile of stuff put together. And some of them were maybe good projects, but there was no information provided with them.
Something as simple as, we have given money to the hub.
Sure.
They sent us a request. We had our consultant review it. We sent back more questions. They sent us, but I don't think we've still given them a check, but it's close, but there's a lot of steps.
I requested that for the hub as well, and it wasn't even considered. It was made up proposals from the executive's office. And so none of those, community-based organization proposals were just discarded. So it's unfortunate, but let's hope, but keep asking questions. I think we should just keep asking questions until you get that check in your hand.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to deliver that. Any questions regarding county issues that you have? You heard about the small stream resolution. The county passed a resolution Tuesday night to send a resolution to ask the governor to veto protections for Class C streams. I was opposed to this resolution, and I think what I can do is write a letter to the governor and encourage her to pass the law. And if you would like to do the same, but that was unfortunate. There's a great Putnam County Health Department Summit coming up next week. I'm excited about attending that. I'll attend the NISAC conference in Buffalo next week and hopefully come back with some good ideas.
Great. Thank you for everything.
Thank you.
Yeah.
There's
Nat, you have a question?
Yeah.
There seems to be a lot of talk about people in county government leaving their positions. Is that in anticipation of the new administration? Is that just one or two people, or is that a widespread phenomenon going on? Not that they would actually tell you, but
It's unknown. I'm not informed of any department head departures. I'm not informed until there's something that needs to be addressed on a
Are you
county
referring to
agenda.
legislators or
No.
employees?
Department heads.
the planning department,
Right.
Andrew Fusco was no
Head of planning department, head of soil and water, climate smart coordinator, sheriff's captain apparently left last week. I need to be informed of these things, and I'm not. It's odd.
Is the Phillipstown senior resource person hired yet, or are they still?
This was discussed. The liaison, the community liaison. So you met with the.
He came here and made a presentation and assured us that it was being covered by other employees.
To answer your question, no, that position was not filled, and he came before you guys a few months ago and explained that
February, March.
he's filling it with other.
Yeah.
Right, and he explained that we pay a portion of that salary, but as he explained that it's not a salary, it's for a service, so. And we've had no complaints that it's not being
Well, that's,
fulfilled.
you guys have your ears to the ground with the seniors, and I think if you're hearing anything that services aren't being met and needs aren't being met, then we have to reopen that.
That doesn't seem to be an issue, right, so.
But I had a candidate, and they told me they were going to interview him, and they called him up, and nothing. He's never been interviewed still.
For a year, we thought that they were going to fill that position, and we were encouraging people to apply, and people did apply. They presented their resumes, they went on interviews, and then we heard a few months ago that they're not going to fill the position, but they still want your check.
Yeah, of course.
Do we know why they don't want to fill it? Like, what are they hesitant about?
The Director of Senior Resources says that it's being met by other. The demands are. It's being met by other programs. Yeah. So, I mean, it's. Talk to your senior citizens. Make sure, I'm trying to do what I can to make sure of it. And nobody's reached out to me, and I'm not there all the time. But they used to complain all the time, and I'm not getting any complaints. So,
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks.
Anybody, thank you.
Okay, moving on to the agenda. So we would like to switch the agenda around a little bit, if that's okay. We will take, is that okay with you? Okay. So we have a presentation by Mr. O'Rourke for the Hudson Highlands Reserve, a petition for a zoning change. If you guys could, welcome. Thank you. That's okay.
All right, well, good evening, Supervisor Van Tassel, members of the Town Board, and thank you again for allowing us to make this presentation regarding the pending petition. My name is Richard O'Rourke. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Keene & Bean. I've been serving as counsel to Ulysses Luciaga, who is the architect and part of the ownership group, and working with Glenn Wasson, whom I know everyone knows, on this project. I've been serving as counsel on the project for the past 7 years. Glenn and Yuli began about a year before I got involved with it. So we're here this evening for the purpose of discussing a zone change petition. And before I do that, I thought it might be best if I encapsulate what we've been doing for the last 7 or 8 years. So that the board has a better understanding of the foundation and the background that predates our arrival here this evening. The planning board did an exhaustive and a comprehensive environmental review, and through that review, what happens is, and they did it in a very, as I said, thorough way. They culminated their review pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act by virtue of the adoption and the approval of a statement of findings. And what that means is that, and this is the, shall we say, the culmination of the review and the findings that are made by the lead agency that was charged with the responsibility of coordinating all of the environmental review. The vote on that was approved by a vote of 6-1. And so with that significant step is behind us, and that is a condition precedent before any final decisions are made on anything, including the zone change petition. But that review, as I said, was finished back in June. Obviously, we're going to be before the planning board some more for subdivision and site plan approval. But a component to the whole application is this petition for a zone change of 11.4 acres. So what the planning board did, they found that, first of all the requirements of SECRA have been met. They found that consistent with the social, economic, and other essential considerations from among the reasonable alternatives available, the proposed subdivision was, as it was modified through the process, and it was modified considerably, and as is set forth in the final environmental impact statement, they determined that it minimizes or avoids significant adverse environmental impacts to the maximum extent practicable. I'm quoting from the finding statement itself. They also found that consistent with the social, economic, and other essential considerations to the maximum extent practicable, significant adverse environmental impacts identified in the environmental impact statement will be minimized to the maximum extent practicable or avoided by incorporating as conditions to the decision the mitigation measures that have been identified as part of the final environmental impact statement review. And that's found on pages 21 and 22 of the finding statement, which is on your website. So turning to the zoning petition, The application involves 207.9 acres. 194.5 acres is currently designated in the rural residential zoning district. There's 2.3 acres that are in the highway commercial district, and there's 11.1 acres that are in the industrial manufacturing, or the M district. Now, the petition before you seeks to amend the zoning map to change the 11.1 acres that's zoned M, manufacturing, mining, to be zoned in the residential, rural residential district. And so, our point with this is that the zoning of it as industrial manufacturing, given its present location, really is totally inconsistent and really has no rational basis to continue in that use. And the reason I say that, the code of the town states that the M district is to allow industrial and related uses that are not compatible with most commercial, office, or residential uses, and they should be located in isolated and well-buffered areas. This is sandwiched and right next to this subdivision. And so the property is not, that's zoned M, is not isolated, it's not buffered. And consistent with your comprehensive plan, one of the things that was noted is that, and this is from the November 2021 adoption, that one of the things that should be done is to update the zoning code to ensure that it is consistent with the goals of the comprehensive plan. I think that if you take a look at the uses that are permitted in the M zone, you'll see why they are totally incompatible with residential and office. Those permitted uses include adult entertainment. I just don't think you want to have that next to a residential subdivision. Also, they include a kennel, light industry, soil mining, veterinary hospital, warehouse, and wholesale business. So our purpose, quite frankly, is to suggest that that zone is incompatible. It's incompatible with your comprehensive plan. It's incompatible with what is in the surrounding area. And that's the purpose of the zone change. So with that, what I'd like to do is turn over to Glenn, and he has the map, and he can show you with precision exactly where this property is and how it's sandwiched in next to the residential area.
I'll just take a minute to just show you the subdivision, then I have another board that I really, to make the point of our presentation. This is the entire 210-acre subdivision. Its access today, there's the dead end of Horton Road is at the property's boundary, and there's a driveway that comes up from East Mountain Road, and the planning board looked we presented plans over the course of the 7 or 8 years that we've been doing this to use both of those access ways into the property. It met with neighborhood resistance. It met with serious concern from the highway department in terms of the roads. It was determined by the planning board that those access points were inadequate and the town couldn't service it. There's been communication back and forth with the state because, as most of you probably know, the state would rather have a private development come off a town road, but the state recognized the town's concern as we presented it to them, and we do have a good space on the Route 9 frontage to come into the property, and that space is right right here. This is, for those who've been around long enough, it's the PEMCorp building that burned down a number of years ago. You know, and like more and more I get that people don't know what I'm talking about when I say to go to Janung's in Peekskill. You know, so at any rate, this is right adjacent to, and is that in fact going to use part of that building, and Mr. Lisiaga and his firm actually bought that building to be able to move the road further away from Clove Brook. I want to point out a couple of things I should have, and we're going to come up into the subdivision, and then basically it stays, as it evolved over the period of several years, there were many changes and reductions and all sorts of changes. But at any rate, the point, this is the area that we're concerned about. This is the area that I want to show you on a more detailed map. This is Clove Brook coming across the road right, coming under Route 9, right where the bridge is being repaired. So we all know where the bridge is being repaired. So I'm just going to put that aside for a moment. This one up. And this is just what Mr. O'Rourke is going to hand. What Mr. O'Rourke is handing out is this same display board, and what you have on it is a copy of the zoning. Thank you. I'll let him finish it.
Yeah, it's in our packet though, too. But
So as you're looking at this, looking at this map, this is a more of a close-up into that area, and what you have is Route 9 coming up in front of the property, and you'll see a pink rectangle there. That's the M zone. And for those of you that think that that was substituted for, and a lot of people talk about it being the place that they could soil mine, you took away. A number of years ago, you disallowed soil mining in Phillipstown. The cross-hatched area was the area that was actually where soil mining was allowed. So that manufacturing was only part of that soil. And as you're considering this petition, I'd like you, the next time you drive up and go over that bridge that's being constructed, see if you can't get a glimpse of the slope against Clove Creek right there. It's very steep. It's a practical impossibility to use those use that area as a manufacturing thing. By the time you do the grading and changing to do it, it's just, in my view, if not impossible, it's very, very difficult, and it couldn't happen without getting and disturbing within the banks and within the 100 feet of Clove Creek, Clove Brook. Anyway, so that's the nature of the petition, and it's right in there. It's, I think you said 11 acres, 11.1 acres. It's a 5-acre zone, so this, in theory, 2 sites. I doubt that there are 2 sites there, but so that's what we're asking for, that to be changed to the blue rural residential, I think so. Yes, rural residential acreage. I'd be happy to try to answer any questions you may have.
Well, to me, it seems like a logical switch of the land from, I mean, we all know what that section was there for. There was going to be a soil mine there, and we sat through hours and hours of zoning hearings back and forth, and then the applicant finally pulled the permit at the last minute and never got the zoning board approval to actually utilize the soil mine. So it was purchased, your group purchased the property, and it's, it could have been a soil mine for 10 years, Glenn, or longer, right? There was a lot of dirt going to come out of there, so. I mean, in my eyes, it makes sense, obviously. You would not want a manufacturing or anything along that line in that section. That's my opinion. Anybody else have any thoughts?
Do you have any idea of what you would, if you would develop anything there?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
I mean, as the other board I had up, the roadway will go through just the northerly corner of it. The roadway will be on that dark green parcel, but just on it, right against the border of it, and then it will come across it a little bit up here, but it will stay well away from Clove Creek and that bank. In fact, there's
your access road to the homes.
yes,
Correct.
that's correct. That's correct.
I have a few questions. Glenn, so is the current access road to the housing development is being planned for that M zone, right? For that?
Yes, it comes in on the green on this map,
Yeah.
and comes up, and it's got to cross it just behind the green part, but nothing is planned southwest of the green block.
The rest would be undeveloped besides
Yes,
that road.
that's correct.
Can that road be built with it being M zoning?
Yes,
It can.
yes, there's no conflict there.
And I guess the only question I have is, it seems like from reading the documents that Mr. O'Rourke gave, that, the M's, this argument that it makes sense that, like, John, you were saying that industrial zoning doesn't make sense there, but that 11.1 acres is currently owned and controlled by the Horton Road Group. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So the Horton Road Group would never want to put in adult entertainment or any of those industrial uses on that site. So there's not a real danger, I'm just making the point, there's not a real danger that those issues that were raised would be put in by the group that controls that 11.1 acres. And so I guess my only other question is that it seems why it's valuable is because the way the conservation subdivision is set up, that 11.1 acres being added to the parcel will allow you to build 2 additional home sites. And so without it, you would not have those 2 additional home sites.
That's correct.
Okay.
So it all adds to the equation.
I got it. So I guess my only point there is that it seems like I know that this has been, I know Bob, because you're on the planning board, it's been in front of the planning board a long time. That has nothing to do with us. But I do know we all have gotten lots of calls. I have from residents of East Mountain Road who are very concerned. It's a large housing development. But it seems like you all have taken a lot of steps to try to meet those concerns. But that point being, if that M zone was left in place and the Horton Road Group has control over that site, so really those industrial uses are a moot point, then if it was left in M zone, it just means the development would be 2 houses smaller, which may address some of those additional concerns about additional traffic that we're seeing. And so I kind of wanted to just make sure I was correct getting all those.
You are correct in what you're saying. And yes, there would be an allowance of 2 additional homes. However, and here's the important point, we are setting aside 78% of the land as permanent open space. This is, notwithstanding, what some people might say NIMBYism, the point of it all is this, that, that's all right. Number one, it is a conservation subdivision. Number two, the property, as presently zoned as M, is totally inconsistent with your comprehensive plan, with good planning, and yes, what will happen if it is rezoned, it will become part of rural residential in perpetuity until somebody else comes along and wants to put up adult entertainment, or they discover gold there and they want to mine it. They won't be able to do that if you change the zoning. So your analysis is correct. The net result of it is that there would be 2 more homes. However, based upon that comprehensive analysis which I just talked about, obviously when you're setting aside 80% of the land and all of the environmental mitigation measures that we're incorporating, from our perspective, respectfully, this makes good planning, is consistent with your comprehensive plan, and is totally supportable. So,
But I guess that is the point of the conservation of subdivision, right? That in a rural residential zone district that would not allow that amount of density, in return for the fact that this land is being preserved and conserved, that density bonus is increased. So it's fantastic that that's happening, and it is a good win. But I just wanted to make sure that was correct about that.
you're right. You're right.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Well, I'd just like to say, like I said, I've been for the planning board since I've been on the board, which is close to 7 years now as well. So I've been at all these meetings. Yeah, so it makes total sense to make the change. Like I said, comprehensive plan wise and so forth. And then, the team here gave up a lot. You gave up a lot of concessions to get to this point as it is as well. So I think it's the right thing to do.
Meg?
Yeah, I agree. I mean,
Steve, do you want to just, so
good job.
my thought is, and I discussed this with our council before the meeting, is allow the board to digest it a little bit over the next few weeks, and then next month we can readdress it and determine. And Steve, the process from there would be. Oh, you need to.
The town board has no legal obligation to entertain petitions for zoning changes. If the board, in its discretion, is inclined to entertain it, the next step would be to direct that a local law to implement the requested zoning change, or whatever zoning change you think you'd like to consider, be prepared. We'd have a resolution introducing that, setting a public hearing on it. As has been pointed out, the secret process is over. I think we need a general municipal law 239M referral to the county planning board on this. But other than that, I think it would be a matter of holding the public hearing and then deciding whether to adopt the local law for the zoning change or not.
So it certainly would allow plenty of time for public comment and the board to digest. And
Oh, you'll get public comment.
yes.
There'll be plenty of time for that. Yeah.
Okay. So I'll suggest that we do that. So do we need a motion to
No, just table it until, or just shelve it. I don't even need to motion to table it until next meeting, and then if the board's inclined to, direct the resolution be prepared, or I can prepare it and you consider it at the next meeting if you like.
That sounds like a plan to me. Is everybody comfortable with that?
I just have one concern. I don't know if this is a conflict of interest thing. So the homeowners association is going to be holding of an easement, right? The environmental easement, correct?
The conservation easement, no, actually, it could be the town that could hold it, or
But
a
it says
bonus.
here that the homeowners. Oh, that's not right? Okay.
No,
No.
It says the
It'll be a
management
not-for-profit or the
open space
town or
land. Okay.
Conservation easement
Understood
holders
that.
are very specific. It won't be the homeowners association.
Okay,
No,
all right, very good.
no.
All right, I just
Let me just say this, however. There will be a homeowners association with this, and clearly, as part of the homeowners association obligations and regulations, they will be yet another enforcement body, and they will own it. But all,
That may be what you're thinking.
Yeah, but
Oh.
I guess that's what I misunderstood.
okay. My apologies. Maybe I
No.
misunderstood.
No.
Yeah, it's an easement. The land will be owned by the homeowners association, but an easement will be held by a third party
Okay, that's-
that has the enforcement
All right, okay,
authority.
that's what
with
I was.
respect. Yeah.
The way I read is it sounded like the homeowners association was going to be the managing of the easement
The
piece.
fox watching the hen house? No, it's nothing like that.
I know. I was going to say that didn't make sense. Okay.
Right, got it.
Have you determined who that third party is going to be yet?
We have had discussions with several, and we're continuing those discussions. Yeah, the important thing is that obviously the organization has to be one that is recognized under the environmental conservation law, and obviously there comes enforcement with that. There also will be third-party enforcement by the town and also by the homeowners association themselves. This subdivision, I liken it to, I don't know how many people might be familiar with Usonia, that's down in Westchester County. It was a protege of Frank Lloyd Wright who developed. You can Google Usonia, and I can just say this, knowing Yulee after all these years, his vision for what this is going to be is something that's not going to be a detriment to this community.
All right, so we'll table it. We'll have Steve prepare it, and then we can discuss it next month. Thank you.
There's Steve, I'm sure you'll find this out, or you'll notice this when you're looking, but there's also a 30-day referral to the town planning board,
For
mandatory.
any amended zoning, that's true, yeah, we'll have to send it to them as
Right.
well.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Ulysses. All right, so back to the agenda. Go from the top.
First is a resolution appointing Martha Upton as Climate Smart Coordinator at a compensation not to exceed that set forth in the 2022 budget.
So we have had several amazing climate smart coordinators, starting with Roberto Muller and then Crystal Ford, who we lost recently. By her choice, she decided to move out of the community. But as Phillipstown always does, they provide us with a wonderful candidate for this position. So we met with Martha last week, was it, Martha? And we had an interview, and unanimously, you were selected for this position. So I would like to make a motion to accept Martha Upton as the Climate Smart Coordinator at a compensation not to exceed that set forth in the 2022 budget. Can I get a motion? Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. And I vote aye. Martha, would you like to say anything? Would you like to? Come on up to the microphone. Get used to it.
I just want to say thank you to the board. It was really a pleasure to speak with you last week, and I'm so looking forward to working with all of you and with our wonderful task force. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Welcome aboard.
Can I just make a quick note that Martha has been volunteering on the Climate Smart Task Force for many, many years, doing a lot of that nitty-gritty work, but then also, besides that, is Conservation Co-Chair of the Sierra Club Lower Hudson Group and member of the Energy Electric Sector Legislative Committee of the Sierra Club. So again, and I know Martha's already, I've already gotten emails about organizing the next Climate Smart meeting and meeting with next week Eleanor Peck of the Regional Mid-Hudson Clean Energy Communities Manager and the Climate Smart Community Coordinator to learn more about funding opportunities and local actions. So we're all
Ground running.
Yes.
Thank you, Martha. Okay.
Next is a resolution authorizing the Philipstown Justice Court to apply for a Jcap grant in the 2022-23 grant cycle for up to $30,000.
So this is something our court clerk does every year and is very successful. A lot of the amenities that are in the courtroom currently have been attained by a Jcap grant. We are about to process, the last one that she had is to do an additional bathroom for the judges. So Cindy has done a great job securing these grants, writing them, and processing them. So can I get a motion to authorize Philipstown Justice Court to apply for the Jcap grant for the 2023 grant cycle?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. And I vote aye.
Next is a resolution appointing Cecilia Rohrs as part-time court justice clerk effective August 22nd, 2022 at a compensation not to exceed that set forth in the 2022 budget.
So this process has been going on for 8 months, and we looked high and lo and behold, she was already right here. So Seal was interviewed by our justice, both justices and our secretary, and we are very happy to have Seal come on board as an employee, part-time employee. And you started August 22nd. I came in and saw you, said hello. So welcome aboard, Seal. Well, I have to get a motion. So can I get a motion accepting Cecilia Rohrs as the Justice, did I pronounce it right?
So
Rohr.
moved.
Right. So moved. Judy's on there. Second. All in favor? And I vote aye.
Next is an update on the food scrap recycling program from Karen Ertl.
Hi, Karen.
If you bear with me for just a second, I think we're halfway through our pilot. We're 4 months into the pilot. I just wanted to take a minute for people who may not know to review who the advisory committee is, because we've really been working hard, and there's been a great amount of information. This is not a one-person lift. Councilman Angel is one of the task force members. Councilwoman Farrell is one of the council members. From the task force is Eric Brown and myself, Karen Ertl. We have had tremendous help, and I do want to thank him for all that he's done, from Councilman Flaherty, who has been our coordinator down at the recycling center and doing whatever we've needed to help us out. So I do want to acknowledge him. I also want to tell you, if you're not familiar with the program, I did bring the newsletter. We have a little newsletter now that will tell you what it's all about. I also want to thank one of our community participants, Del Fadank, and PCNR, they gave us a very big section of the newspaper for a letter to the editor, and in addition to that, he basically gave us an ad. He reiterated, all the things that we do and all the things that we're trying to do. So that was really, really nice of him. I also thought it was time to bring this back out and remind everybody that we're only trying for the bottom. There are a lot of things that happen in the town of Phillipstown. There's a lot of people doing a lot of things, and we're trying to get that food that would otherwise be going to a landfill. That's our objective. It's never been to get 100% of Phillipstown doing this. That's never been our objective. We want people to be educated, to think about what they're doing, to do it because they need to, and know that there are options. So just as a quick update, we started, as I say, next week will be 4 months ago. Sorry, I don't need these to read. It's a problem. Since the opening on May 16th, it's our first registration, we've had press release, flyers. We're in the social media pages of Nelsonville, Cold Spring, and Continental Village. People have been doing presentations in all of the local towns. We had Crystal Ford, our previous Climate Smart coordinator, did a webinar at the Desmond Fish Library. And PCNR was kind enough to do a very weathered picture of me at the 100-degree day at the Outreach for Community Day at Desmond Fish. We've done 10, and we've got another one coming up on Saturday, in-person registrations at Cold Spring Farmers Market. There have been presentations at the Recreation Center, Nelsonville, Cold Spring, and I did a presentation at the County Fest, which was 3 days long. It was 3 different days. I wore 2 different hats. Also on the 24th of August, we just did another presentation with Kent, Patterson, and Sustainable Putnam. Kent is charging ahead. They're going to be initiating it. They're putting it in their budget. They're moving ahead. Patterson, hopefully, is going to follow. And we have the support of Sustainable Putnam on the far side of the county. So hopefully, as with Climate Smart, we will lead the way in terms of getting people to do this and feel it's a worthy project. Just to kind of give you an update of where we're at, the town of Beacon is also doing a food scrap program, but it's very, very different than what we do. They just have drop-off sites and people dump food there. They did weigh their garbage cans, their totes, and each tote, when full, is about 200 pounds of food. So working off of that, we, to date, are collecting about 4 65-gallon totes of food every week. So that comes out to approximately 540 pounds of food a week. In a month, it's 2,160 pounds. In 4 months, it would be 8,640 pounds. If we continued for a year, that would be 25,000 pounds, almost 26,000 pounds of food, which would be 12.96 tons of food that we diverted out of a landfill. That's with our current enrollment. The next 4 months, we're going to continue in-person registration. We're going to investigate an additional in-person registration opportunities. We're going to hopefully place information in the Highlands Current Calendar, which is a freebie and can remind people when we're meeting in person. We're exploring the feasibility of placing a classified ad. We've been told by the newspapers, classified ads are inexpensive and people read them. So they said put one there. In fact, I told Tara I saw the ad for the email blast. There's a classified ad in there that says, call you for email to be added. Yeah, I'll show it to you. We're going to contact school administrators and the PTA to explore to explain the pilot and explore possibilities with them. We're going to explore strategies to get the village of Cold Spring more involved in the pilot. We're going to explore the strategies that if we become a permanent site, the possibility of a rain barrel, hopefully we get rain, because there is the need for water up there. You need to rinse things out and what have you. We're going to continue the current reach out to participants and who are supporting the pilot. And we're also going to create a distribution list, which I'm happy to say 2 nights ago I did, and we can now email blast all of the people who are participating, send them information, send them a survey, or whatever we want to do. So we've got that. I want to thank the board for making me the Dear Abby of food scraps. I get lots of information. In fact, one of our participants gave me permission to read his letter, and I won't read the whole thing, but he said one of the things we need to do going forward is make more specific where we can get the bags. They want to know where they can get the recycling bags, and we did expand that. Used to be just here, now you can get it here or when you drop off your food up at the recycling center. He wanted to point out that the town is selling them for much, 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 much cheaper than you can get them online. He thought he would try to get the Bag to Nature online, and he said if he bought it, it would be over $40. And we're selling them because it comes from Canada, and it has to have, all these things attached to it. So he said he just went over to Town Hall and bought three rolls for $9, and he's very, very thankful. I explained to him that the town is making no money on this.
Maybe we should raise that price a little.
Yeah, I said to him, the town isn't making any money on any of this. In fact, I meant to bring the kit up in case people needed it. The one thing he said is, and I hear this, bless you, over and over again from the Food Scrap Recycle website, is we need another drop-off day. Now, that doesn't mean we need it during the pilot. That means if we go forward, we need another drop-off day. It says the whole purpose of the program, this is his words, the whole purpose of the program is defeated without a more flexible schedule. Ideally, there would be more than two true drop-off days to really get this program going. So I don't hear another site, I do hear another day.
I have heard another side from
Same
some
here.
constituents.
Yeah.
Yes.
And in the village of Cold Spring is the request that I'm getting. And I think, first of all, thank you for everything, all the work you've all done.
Well, it's really been, I have to thank everybody. It's
amazing. Yeah, it's amazing.
Tara.
Once again, we're ahead of everybody in the area.
Yeah.
So I have a few questions. Total number of participants at this point? I know
144.
And the target was 200.
Well, we bought supplies for 200.
Gotcha.
We never really set a target. If we go, I'm this weekend I'm being optimistic. I said I feel lucky. I'm taking 15 with me to the farmers market because I think it's going to be a big weekend out there. There's going to come a point in the near future where we did overbuy the counter containers, but we did not buy matching transport kits, the green dubs. So the green bins. So there will come a point where we say, look, are we going to cut it off at 200 or are we going to get the balance? And Scarsdale has said they'll help us with that again. So my point, I guess, is there was never a target set. But we currently have 3.9%, 4% of the households, according to the census, participating in this program. And we have home composters, people up here, which is why I say the numbers for the totes are approximate, why aren't we getting more? We have home composters who are composting at home and bringing us, because we're commercial, the stuff they can't compost. We have vegetarians bringing us stuff, freezing it every 2 weeks and bringing it. So we have people up in these categories who are also participating in the food scrap recycle program.
The request for a second location, I know.
I haven't heard a second location. I've heard second day.
Well, I've heard second location, and
That's
the
fine.
village, it seems like the village would be, because my complaints, not complaints, but thoughts were that people in the village, it's not easily accessible for people in the village to go to the landfill. I
Again,
understand.
I would say for the pilot, don't do anything. Because the revelation I had was, before now, the town's never really been involved in garbage.
Right.
People contract with private, vendors who carry their garbage and what have you. It's a town decision. Do you want to get more involved in garbage? Because if you open a second site, there are DEC regulations that it either would have to be a village site or it would have to be the town site. And if it's the town site, now you have to have the manpower who's going to go get it, bring it back, et cetera. There are regulations around it. So when I hear the frustrations from people on this side, I say to them, this is a pilot. We've learned so much in 4 months. That's all we've been doing.
And we're halfway.
4 more months of patience is not going to tax anybody. And I think in 4 months, we will all be much more educated as to what's working, what's not working. If Kent picks it up, Kent has a Department of Public Works. They already pick up garbage, so they can maybe coordinate with us and say, well, how's it working? What's working? What isn't working? I just heard of in the Kent presentation in New York City, and I want to find out more about it. They have a 65-gallon tote which has a magnetic lid, and you sign on and you get a card. And when you go to dump your food scraps, you wave the card and unlocks the bin. You throw your stuff in, and when you close it, it locks again. It's a game changer.
That's a big difference.
Yeah, this area of garbage is changing. I should stop saying this, but I've already told my financial advisor, look into garbage. Yeah. It's changing. People are, every day there's ways in dealing with things we didn't know. So I would say have patience.
And I've visited other towns where they have successfully done this. As you've introduced us, Karen, thank you, to other initiatives. And Beacon and others have more than one site, which, we don't have to think about it right now, but I think for the next year to think about that. Because
some of those towns also have Department of Public Works, that are now picking up those things anyway. Scarsdale never went to 2 sites. They went from 1 site to curbside pickup. And I've heard a lot of people say, oh yeah, curbside pickup, I'll pay the extra money, come get it from me. So I don't know that a second drop-off for us is an answer. Something to be considered, something to be explored, but I would say for the duration of the pilot, my recommendation would be, and Eric can Scarsdale always says to us, go slow. Go slow.
I would just add that there is discussion just about having conversations with the village of Cold Spring to talk to them about what's been learned so far in the pilot and discuss the details of what it would take to do a site in Cold Spring, which seems like it's worthwhile exploring continuously with the advisory committee. And then, I think everybody has said from the beginning that most people in the town of Phillipstown pay to get their garbage picked up. So if this moved to a situation where these are just public drop-off sites, so people who can't pay for the costly service of getting their compost picked up, they always have an option to drop it off. But I know this is all kind of in learning, and both of you have put in so much time, and Bob, you have, and Ryan, up at the landfill, who's kind of the compost ambassador up there. So really, thank you. But it's worth it.
I think everything should be explored. All possibilities should be explored. But both Eric and I have been doing this for 3 years, and the thing we learned is that every time you make a step to the right, there's 5 things to the left you didn't know about. It's a slippery, it's a changing, it's a, so all I say is for the pilot, let's explore everything.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
If this pilot goes through and you guys do great in the next 4 months and then this takes off, who's paying for all of that? If the pilot goes through and you guys get the numbers that you need, who's going to continue to pay for composting? Is it the households, or is it who's going to pay for all of this?
Well, right now, it's basically a free program because it's covered by NYSERDA.
But once it gets...
No, I understand. And I think depending upon the plan, then, you have to explore financing it. There are options. There are state options for reimbursement.
So the town would have to...
Well, it depends. I mean, the advisory committee, I would assume we would continue and would continue to, explore possibilities. But I think sooner or later, the town has to say, this is worth it. We're going to make a commitment to it. And let's figure out what it looks like.
Right.
The biggest expense is the pickup, right? That's it. That's the biggest expense. That's the only expense you really have, okay?
It really is.
Everything else is self-sufficient. We pay for the bags, everything else is there. Now, I was up there 2 weeks ago. I spent almost a half a day up there, and I got a lot of people who were very happy with this. They say, hey, I live in Garrison, but I don't mind coming up here on a Saturday to drop off my food scrap because it's a good thing for our environment. So I agree. We got to look at
Similar to other,
Right,
electronic waste, it's all.
if somebody come up with, like I said, a magnetic top that locks us, that's the biggest thing. If you come up with something like that, second drop-off site, it's a no-brainer. But we're not there yet.
Right.
Like, again, it's a pilot, we're moving slow, and we got to do the right thing, and we make adjustments like everything else as
It
we move.
takes me a half an hour every Saturday to drop off my garbage, my food scraps. I live in Garrison. I live on the Bear Mountain Bridge. And by the time I get up to the recycling center and get back,
Well, again, also, too...
it's a long trip, and I don't mind it.
But also, too, the plan was to have some volunteers maybe in certain areas that said, hey, in my community or in my street, I got 10 people who are doing this. It's my weekend to bring it up there or something like that. I mean, that was discussed early on. So that's what we need. We need people like that and know who's doing it. Like, I mean, I'm the only one that I know on my street that does it, I think.
Right.
But I don't know that for a fact. But the thing is, it's a pilot. But that's what we got to start looking at.
I got a
'Cause we
phone
don't want
call.
200 people going up there every single Saturday to drop off things. There's got to be a way the community work together and get, like I said, certain areas, streets or whatever.
Jason's phone.
But anyway, again,
Drop it off.
I got
Eric still dropped it off. I'll drive it.
I got an
over.
email last
There's-
weekend
there's-
because of
like I
Labor
said,
Day. Person in a panic. I can't take my garbage, my food scraps. What am I going to do? I can't take my food scraps. After 3 or 4 phone calls and 2 or 3 emails, found somebody. And I emailed him back and I said to him 2 things. I said, one is, a month ago, they only signed on a month ago. I said, everything you had went in the garbage. So I said, I do think the food scrap gods will forgive you if once in a while you throw it in the garbage because you can't make it to the, but that's the passion that people have. And I did give that person my personal email. I go right by their house and I said, if I'm going and you can't get there, let me know.
I think that'd be the next type of step, and
Yeah.
I mean, Rob's absolutely right. The idea of cost. Scarsdale's worked incredibly hard with us and been really generous in terms of sharing information. And they were adamant, and we agreed with them that the effort should not be necessarily a profit generating one. And so when someone comes to buy a kit from us, I can tell them with confidence, listen, this is the cost of the kit. the town's not going to make any money off of this. You're signing up to buy because you think this is important. And Robert,
Is the town going to have to then pay for these kits? Are they going to have to foot the bill if people wanted to?
no.
No,
So every
okay,
time
that was the question.
Yeah,
Like,
every time
if
someone-
this pilot goes forward, great, that's wonderful.
that the cost of it, the cost of the program is in the carting. And when you look at the carting per month, then you can look at that total for what it would be for a year and compare it to the slice of the budget compared to other expenditures. And I think when you start to look at it,
So the town will we have to pay for that slice for carting? Yes or no? If this goes.
Yes.
Okay, that's
But
that's my question. So the
right.
town will
Yes.
And that
have to
we've
pay.
been, and,
At some point in time,
and
probably,
Karen and I
yes.
have been,
But it's a pilot, so that's all,
Right.
I'm just putting the question
And
out there, because
we've
I
been-
know that there's people out there that are watching that are like,
But there is a
well,
public benefit.
who's footing this bill?
sure, and
Well, there may be all the programs too, all the money we saved on, when we did the, solar, right? We have money, we implemented the, program that we take on the Freon.
Right.
So that money, we're still doing that, right? And while we're talking about Freon, I made a deal with the local guy up here that's gonna now pay us for our air conditioners as opposed to just getting them away for free. So there's gonna be some money right now, the guy was taking them for free, now I got someone that's gonna take them and pay us for them, so that's gonna be a little extra little
I wish
money.
we
to
were in
that.
the composting business. That's the black gold. People are retiring on the composting, but I know, Karen, you say
Right,
this
and
once
one of the things that we've also been working on really hard is to make sure that a lot of that, Crystal Ford was really tireless in terms of getting funding to make sure
Right.
that we were, and that's the kind of thing,
That's wonderful.
right, and that's,
Like I said, I'm
and
just
that's the
putting
kind of thing,
question.
that's the kind of thing that we would continue to do. So
Right.
it's not going to stop once that happens.
Just
So it's-
trying to ask the question that people who are not here, I know, are thinking.
You should, I mean, so just for those are good questions. The hard
Thank
cost
you.
of the.
Thank you for approving those questions.
No, I was going to give you some information that the hard cost is $460 a month for the pickup. So that would be a hard cost to the town, and you'd have to make a decision if that $5,500 is worthwhile for the public benefit. I think it is.
And if we're reducing the composting, and those folks, as Karen said, are also bringing their scraps up to the food scrap recycling center. And the public benefit is reducing the tonnage of waste. I mean, for all of us, that is a public benefit. So I think it's worth $500 a month.
I mean, that is the recommendation of the task force, room group, advisory committee, is that we would like to recommend that the town of Phillipstown continue to support the pilot, obviously, and that we begin a discussion to explore the possible next steps. What does it look like? What are we going to try to do? The part of the recycling center may never get bigger. If we go to a curbside, it may always be the option for people who don't want to pay for curbside, who don't mind taking it there. Curbside has its problems because of Phillipstown and our private little small roads. So if we have a direction, we can spend the next 4 months exploring which way do we want to go, right or left, and then have an answer, hopefully by the end of December, the end of the pilot, that says, okay, we've looked into it and here's some viable options. But all of the supplies pay for themselves. I mean, there's an initial outlay, but people pay back for that. And the only thing going forward, the task force bought through the grant most of the non-reimbursables. So the totes are there. They're not going to change. You have to buy bags. You have to buy, but that's the kind of outlay you're talking about. It's a small outlay for a big return.
And
The
vouchers.
information of it.
Right,
For-
that's
So
what's
people
happening.
want to know, they
Yeah.
want to hear, so.
And any residents who cannot, it's a financial hardship to get the equipment, the bins, we can provide them. We did allow for, in the budget, I think,
The $20 for the kits, and we haven't advertised it, and no one has come forward and said, I want to participate, and I can't. So I don't know how the outreach is done in terms of, other things in town, but we haven't had any requests so far.
Already. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's move on.
Next is a discussion on the flag policy.
Okay. So we've had this on the agenda for a few months now. In Judy's absence, we did not act or move on it. And I've said it several times, and I'll say it again. To me, the only flag on the flagpole should be the American flag and the POW flag. I have no opposition to any group that has requested space on the flag, but I feel that it will, if we allow flags again to fly other than the American flag and or the POW or the state of New York flag, however we want to write it, but it will be an endless chain of work. It'll be an endless chain of requests, and I am overloaded already. I am not going to be up here making a decision every month as to what flag is a hate group, what flag is not a hate group, because everything is different to everybody. So that's my opinion, and I will open the floor up. Judy, you have...
Thank you, John. Supervisor Van Tassel, I really appreciate that you deferred this discussion until I was able to participate. I've done a lot of research on this issue as to what other municipalities across the country are doing. I have sent that research to the board. I've shared it with our counsel, Steve Gaba. I do believe that we could adopt a policy that is inclusive, that would, and also a policy that others have adopted that only allows flags that are recognized by the federal and state governments, which this all came about when a resident of Phillipstown came to the town board and offered to donate the gay pride flag, which we did agree to fly at Town Hall. We flew the gay pride flag on a pole that was donated by Councilmember Flaherty, generously donated it and helped to put it out front. I was not aware of any objections to flying that flag. I did not hear from any constituents about it. It is a flag that's recognized by the federal and state government and recognized internationally. So I feel that we can work as a board to have a more inclusive policy. I have not seen a flood of requests for other flags, so I'm not aware of that, but you may be more aware of it. I haven't heard any requests for other flags, but I do think if we have a policy, and I would defer to our council, that we can only fly flags that are recognized by federal and state government, or we can also, I think, possibly have more public input. I would like to do that, but I do support having a more inclusive policy than just our American flag. Of course, I support the American flag. That's, our national treasure, and the flag of the state of New York, and the flag, the POW flag. But I do think we can be more inclusive as leaders. I think one of our great leaders from the Hudson Valley said the only thing we have to fear is fear itself, President Roosevelt. And so I'm not afraid of entertaining a more expansive flag policy.
Judy, I don't think anybody's afraid of expanding that policy. I have to agree with John on this. Sorry, Supervisor Van Tassel. Is that the American flag represents all inclusiveness. And so for you to say that people are afraid of other flags, I don't think is a proper statement to make, because I'm not afraid of any other flags by any means. I'm just here to represent everybody, and I feel that the American flag does that. I think it represents everybody within our community, and I think if we open this policy, as Supervisor Van Tassel mentioned, that we have bigger issues in this community to be speaking about. We have items on the agenda that need to be addressed, and to have a flag policy on the agenda every month because somebody feels that they want this specific flag flown, I just think that we have a little bit more important issues to be worried about. And telling people that...
I don't understand how you see that happening every month.
Because there's a lot of different flags
No
out
one
there
has come
that-
except one member of the town to
Right,
request a
but
flag.
that doesn't
We had a
mean,
second request, which was, it came after.
It wasn't publicly requested.
It wasn't, I'm sorry.
It wasn't publicly requested at a town board meeting.
I just think saying that we're afraid is not a proper statement, because I, for one, am not afraid, and I'm sitting up here, I was voted in here, and I think that the American flag stands for all inclusiveness within our community. So,
I'm not afraid of the requests, I'm afraid of the work. That's what I'm afraid of.
But
I'm
where is this, I don't understand, I guess maybe I don't understand where that work, how that work is being generated, because I have not heard from any constituents about other
from
flags.
Constituents, a lot of constituents actually, I mean, like you said, they're not here at the town board, but I have gotten emails and I've gotten phone calls on, well, then I want a flag, I want this flag, I want the police flag. And so I'm just I'm just trying to put it out there that I think we need to be, the American flag, I think, is all inclusiveness. And that is what we as a community, last time I checked, represent. So.
Well, I think as community leaders too, it's not just, we're doing great work here on the climate, we're doing wonderful work in Supervisor Van Tassel's and Councilmember Flaherty, and we're very involved in this beautiful buildings renovation and the highway garage, but we're also leaders, and the community looks up to us to be role models and leaders, and there have been surveys done saying people are concerned about discrimination and tolerance and everything else, and I think as leaders, being more inclusive, we're sending a message if we could embrace each other's within
And that
a
goes
larger
both
community.
ways. I mean, that goes both ways. So that's why I'm sticking to the fact that the American flag represents everybody within this community, and not just one flag representing one population.
Well, I'd like to just say, like I said, I just want to open and shut this thing. That's why I think we should have a little bit more discussion, and we should. I'm not. Right now, I think we just need to get some public feedback here as well, and see what the other people in our community have to say, and see what their requests are. Believe me, we don't want to have if we have a policy put in place, we would have to have, we can't, I agree,
Yeah.
we can't entertain requests every single month. We'd have to come up with a policy, possibly, that in the beginning of the year, this is it. You come to us in January, and we set the stage if we decide to go forward with it, that we have all the requests right in the beginning. We obviously cannot spend time every single month, entertainment, I want that flag or this flag or whatever. I agree with that. But I'm
But do
saying,
you
we
think
would
there
have to
should
make
be
it part of our
criteria,
policy. And
Bob?
all I'm saying is that I think we should just get some public input.
Do you think there should be some criteria, though? I think it shouldn't just be any flag. I agree with you.
Well,
It shouldn't be.
I
There
think-
has to be criteria.
I don't know what the limit is to what the parameters you have put out. I don't know what the limit is to that, but I think we could have some really uncomfortable moments in this room that would be, yes, Steve?
I'm sorry, finish your thought, John, I'd like to speak after you.
Sure. I think we're going to have some really uncomfortable moments in this room that I would rather avoid. And not that I'm afraid of anybody coming in here. We've been through it all, but the amount of work that it could present. I've sat here for 12 years. This is my 13th year. I can see it being a huge, controversial workload that I am not looking forward to accept. I think it's very simple. It's the American flag. It's the POW. If you want to do the state and/or county, or if the town of Phillipstown had a flag, I'm all for it. But beyond that, I think we're opening a can of worms that we're going to regret. But yes.
Well, hopefully this will be helpful, but I read over the documents that Judy sent to me. Thank you, Judy. And it's a bit of an oversimplification, but basically the board has three options here, okay? Option one is that you have what I cautioned the board about when this first came up, an open forum for flags or signs, whatever, at Town Hall, which means that on requests, people come in and they put up whatever it is you request them to come in. If that policy is adopted, your ability to say no to flying flags will be very circumscribed. Option number 2 is that you adopt a policy that says we're only going to fly the U.S. flag or POW flag, or we're not going to allow private flags at all, okay? Option number 3 is what Judy brought me from other municipalities. There's a line of cases that discusses what's called government speech. Everything else is private speech. When a municipality or any government branch decides that it wishes to communicate something to the public, as long as it makes that determination on its own and it doesn't make the forum open to other speakers, like your website, for example, you have control over what goes on there. So if you adopt a policy that the town board and the town board alone will decide what flags you fly, you can, as these other municipalities have, say it's going to be the United States flag, the POW flag, the Pride flag, or if you wanted to make an exception in this case, maybe you want to fly the British flag because the Queen's passed away or something. I don't know. But I mean, you limit it to flags that you decide on. If you follow that policy, you cannot take input from the public as to what it is you're going to fly, because if you start doing that, you're down the road to having an open forum again. That isn't to say that people can't suggest things to you, come up to you in the street or even in here and say, gee, I think it would be a good idea to fly the Ukrainian flag or whatever it is. But you're not granting their request. The board on its own must make a determination. And it would be best, as Bob suggested, that at the beginning of the year, you say, all right, or maybe you have a standing, as these other municipalities do. These are the flags we fly. And they're flown because the town board says we're going to fly them, not because anybody wants to suggest it. So if you want to follow that third way, you could have more inclusive flying of flags and not open yourself to the possibility of being bombarded with flags, because you don't accept requests, being bombarded with requests. You could foreclose that possibility if you go that third way. But, again, you kind of open a can of worms, because once you say it's what the town board decides on, you can bet you're going to get suggestions sooner or later. But basically, those are your 3 choices. It's open to everybody, which, as I said, comes with its own set of problems, and if you're willing to take them on, so be it. But then we aren't flying any flags except United States and POW, and then we're going to adopt a town flag policy by resolution, which will say, this is the list of flags we're going to fly, and foreclose all others.
That still goes back to what John was talking about, of an abundance of, so if we put this, you all have this time period to put forth your flag requests. We're going to spend time going through every single flag request?
There should be no flag requests.
No,
the board
we're
would
gonna
make a determination at the beginning of the year.
If we went with number 3, we're going to select what possibilities would be open up to the public to fly. That's it.
But again,
Then it goes back
that
to
is
all that
that is an
conversation that
endless
John-
list of possibilities.
be
That's a
federal.
can of worms I'm not looking to open.
But we
Can I-
already voted on one flag. I mean, we did, well, we didn't vote. We granted the request to fly it at town hall. We never voted on it because no one thought that would be necessary.
And we put the Ukrainian flag up.
Just out of-
and
I just thought it was
that's
a good
where,
thing to do,
that's
okay?
where we are. And this is the 3rd month that we've discussed the flags. Well, actually, probably the 4th or 5th month we've discussed the flag.
Can I make a quick comment and then,
Sure.
and then ask a question, Steve, to you? I mean, I guess, so I haven't kind of made any comment about it because it's kind of a tricky issue. You can see both sides of it. When we decided unanimously to fly the Pride flag, I think Supervisor Van Tassel, you made it known that on the official flagpole, and that you really only want to see the American flag, the POW flag, and so as a result of that, we decided to create a secondary flag. Bobby donated a community flag, basically, and then we kind of got into this conversation, and I've been kind of flipping back and forth in my head that, I know, I have had concerns before in the current climate we're living in of kind of cultural political conflict, that it could open up a can of worms. But at the same time, kind of balancing that, I've had the feeling that, it's a democracy and a community needs to decide what issues it stands for, it wants to support. and those conversations should be had more in public as a way of trying to determine what majorities of community members support. And so that being said, Judy, I talked to Judy, who presented her case and research, which was convincing, which kind of swayed my thinking a bit. And so I guess my question comes to this. It seems like, as an official flagpole, John, you've made it clear, and I think most people agree, that the United States flag and the POW flag, we have this issue of a community flag we've created. And so, to Judy's point, Steve, on that third option, if the town board said, we're going to prescribe the possibilities of flags that can be flown, and that prescription is what Judy suggested. It's all nationally or state recognized observances, the day, the week, the month, which is a pride, nationally recognized observance. And there's a list that have been approved by the national government and the state government. And if we're all saying that we don't want to have to be inundated with the work, but at the same time we want to create space to see what people in our community care about and what they don't support, couldn't we have a system where someone has to make a formal request at a public board meeting, that as a result of that request, there has to be a public hearing where people can express their opinion on if they're very in favor of it or against it, and at the following board meeting, the town board can, having heard that, decide if they're going to fly a flag from their list of chosen national or state observances?
Well, none of Judy's laws do anything like that. What I'm concerned about is well, let me take a step back. First off, if the board decides that as government speech, that is to say, as the board's own volition, it wants to fly a flag or a bunch of flags or a category, it can absolutely do that, okay? And if you do that, that's fine. You're not accepting suggestions or requests from the public. You've made a decision. These are the flags that will be flown, or category of flags, and that's it, all right? And
Are you allowed to accept comment from the public, even if that's the legal?
Here's the issue with that, okay? If you get to a point where it isn't just making suggestions, it's taking requests, you can turn what you don't intend to be a public forum into a public forum. Even if you don't say you're doing it, if everybody comes along and asks to have or suggests to have a flag flown, sooner or later somebody's going to come along and say, hey, you accepted everybody else's suggestion, you do this regularly, you're not accepting mine because you're discriminating against me. Sooner or later that's going to happen. The more public input that you have, the more hearings, the closer you come to turning it into a public forum. And if you want to turn it into a public forum, it's fine. Just say it's a public forum, and come one, come all, you fly whoever's flag asks, if that's what you want.
But you can still prescribe. You can limit it based on Judy's idea of nationally recognized observances.
Judy's idea is government speech. That's what every municipality she gave me a local law from adopted. They said, we, the board, are deciding what flags to fly. Our constituents don't have a right to suggest, request, anything else as far as that goes. We prescribe the list. Which isn't to say that somebody can't come up to you and make a suggestion, but it's not binding, there's no process for it. This is a group decision, and that's what all the laws she gave me said, and that's fine. So if you want to do that, you can do that. You don't have anybody else's. Now, in deciding what flags to fly, the more you take public comment and public suggestions, the more you make it look like it's not your decision, that it's requests from the public you're taking. And if you take requests from the public, you turn it into a public forum. And if you turn it into a public forum, you can't pick and choose whose flags you fly.
And the process of us choosing, would that be a public process? I mean,
Well,
it would
sooner or
have,
later you have to adopt a resolution. It
but
will
it
be
would
public
have to
in
be a
that
public
sense.
process. If all five of us sat down and say, okay, we're going to fly the pride flag, we're going to fly the blue line flag, we're going to fly that process would have to take place in public, because
yes.
anything we do has got to be done in public.
But there is a list of nationally recognized and
I
state
haven't seen the list,
recognized.
but I'm sure
There's a bourbon month. There's
going to be the bourbon month.
a mustache month on the nationally recognized observance list. It's not all bad. Some of it's fun. Some of it's good one.
Yeah,
And it would be on that poll that was donated by Councilmember Flaherty,
You could
right?
call it
Is that-
displaying the other flags instead of flying
Instead
the
of
other
flying.
flags. The only ones you'd fly would be the ones on your flagpole, because you could display on the display pole. I wouldn't call it a community pole. I think
Yeah, yeah.
that's maybe a bit of misnomer there. But yeah, so you have the smaller display pole, you have the flag porch you can fly. So that's certainly an option that the board has.
That changes.
There is the other side of this is this is a public building, it's a municipal building, and nobody should have to walk in here and feel offended by any flag that's flown out there. What offends you may not offend me, and vice versa. I don't think that we need to be getting involved in, and again, it'll be a decision by the board, but we don't need to be making decisions on what offends who in this community. We have enough decisions to make, in my eyes, that become offensive to people regardless, without entertaining more of it. As you said, it's a democracy. Fly whatever flag you want at your own home, but this building is everybody's building, and nobody should feel offended because they're walking in here to see the assessor and they have to walk by something that offends them. The American flag, if that offends you, well, then I'm sorry, but that's my feeling, and I'll leave it there. I'll let you all, anybody else have anything?
No, I just said what I said earlier on. I just,
Anybody,
You know.
would anybody from the, I know I'm going to regret this, but anybody from the public, go ahead, Richard.
Identify yourself.
Richard Butensky. I have no problem with any of the flags that have been proposed to be flown. I think they're all wonderful flags, and I think if gay pride was flown on every house in town, it would be terrific, and if the Ukrainian flag was flown, I think these are all wonderful things, but I happen to agree with Supervisor Van Tassel. I think, even government-recognized flags. Let's say, God forbid, some tragedy like 9/11 happens in Israel, and we all feel really solidarity with them, and we want to fly the Israeli flag. Well, and then maybe something terrible happens in Palestine, in the Palestinian territories, and we feel solidarity and we want to fly that flag. So I agree. Why should people have to walk through those doors to do their town business? And, these are nationally recognized flags. There's nothing wrong with those flags. But they do offend some people. And, people feel differently about things. Some people are offended by the Police Benevolent Association or something, or the thin blue line or whatever it is. So, I think you guys work really hard. You spend a lot of your time on really important issues to me. I want to see you focusing on that rather than entertaining. Yeah, I realize there's not an onslaught of things, but it could happen, and I just think if you want to fly a flag at your house. If you want to really spread the word, then hand me a flag and ask me to fly the flag you like also. Maybe I'll do it, but I don't think a lot of time should be spent, like you say, you've already spent a lot of time on this already.
Well, thanks for your input. That was kind of like I was looking for some public input. That's all. Okay, that's what I'm saying. That's all I was looking for.
I'm going to throw it out there. That's all I was looking for.
Hi, Greg McGarva. Obviously, it can get to be a very emotional issue. It can be a very divisive issue, and sometimes what some people perceive as inclusive can be seen as divisive by others. So, in that context, and certainly with a lot of compassion to all the work that that was done to come up with this list of flags and all this thing that you did, Judy, I'm not so sure that this body has the time to legislate all of that and then take the responsibility for the fallout once it's legislated. I think you guys got a lot of other things to do. The caveat might be that if you can come up with a short list and a very well-defined short list of flags that you put out there on a rotational on the small pole, and you just rotate them on some kind of regular basis, And that's codified somehow so that it's not up for debate. But anything short of that, or anything more than that, or something that may potentially generate debate, in my humble opinion, I think that you guys got a lot of other things to do than to have to try and legislate and to manage that. If there's a very managed way of doing it that can be codified and set in stone, and this is what it is. We've got our main flagpole, and we've got a side one over here, and we're going to take the time to rotate through and honor and recognize other groups. That needs to be very, very precise and very well defined, and then that's it. No argument, no discussion. That's it.
That would be easy.
If you could do that and do that easily, it might be okay. But to open it up opens up for a lot of very visceral debate. And while certainly people have the right to have that debate, I think that you go back to focus on what's your core business here is managing the town, and I'm not so sure that necessarily falls under your purview to have to get so involved with this particular visceral issue, like I say. And I'll just close by reminding everybody my first comment is what can be perceived as inclusive for some can be perceived as divisive for others, and do you want to be in the middle? That's all I. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, obviously, we're not going
I mean, at some point, we have to make a decision here.
Yep.
Steve, if you want to draft a couple different proposals, and we'll bring it next month, and we can vote on it next month and be done with it. So that would be my.
By a couple different proposals, can you give me a little guidance? I mean, what is
I would
it
say you had laid out 3 different avenues.
Well, I can be blanks and say this is where you'd fill in the flags that you'd want if that's what you have in mind.
We don't want,
Right.
we're not agreeing to any specific avenue right now.
Well, no, but if you decided to go with the government speech option, you would adopt a policy like the other municipalities have, saying that the town of Phillipstown has determined that the town board wishes to fly the following flags and only the following flags for the year 2023. I guess it would be you'd start with or finish off 2022 when you list the American flag, the POW flag, and I guess the Ukrainian flag and the Pride flag, whatever it is you were going to list. I could leave that blank and you could fill them in on your own. I mean, yes.
And this is obviously, people are very passionate about this, and I was hoping for a policy. I thought that's what was on for tonight, but we have to get to this point to draft the policy. So I love the democratic process, so drafting a policy and voting on it is great. I can't stop thinking that it's much like our holiday schedule. You vote on the holiday schedule every year at the reorganization meeting. You choose the holidays.
That's not controversial, though.
It's not, but it could be.
It's really not.
Well, you're not. It depends on who you are.
I mean, we give them everybody. We give every holiday, so
We don't, but
pretty much.
so I don't mean giving your holidays to your employees, but
The analogy, it's
but
like-
I'd love to see a policy, and I'd love to see a vote. That's all.
Well, everybody knows where I stand, so it's pretty simple.
I'll put together drafts for the
Yeah,
next
just-
board meeting. I'll send them to you before the meeting, obviously.
Right, yeah. Do
Take
that.
a look at them, give me some feedback, and if you want to,
Ask any questions.
or once I'm penciled, I'll be happy to change it around.
Okay. Thank you.
I think everyone's in agreement that we don't want to spend a lot of time every single month on something like this,
Spend
okay?
Too much time, but.
Well, this is really the first time we had any kind of discussion, to be honest, so.
No, we had a discussion back in May.
Not
All right,
really.
moving right along. I have a few items, but go ahead. Go ahead.
So next is to schedule workshops or meetings. We have our regular meeting on October 6th. We have a workshop request from Rebecca Schultz, who's the interim center director at Constitution Marsh. She wants to have a workshop to discuss parking issues. And then we have to reschedule the workshop with the Phillipstown Conservation Preservation Plan Task Force.
Say that 10 times fast.
I will if you want me to.
Okay, so there's one Wednesday in September we have to avoid because
We
of
cannot do the 28th of September. We've got the 14th, we've got the 21st, and October 5th is a Wednesday before the next meeting, but it's the day before the next meeting. I don't know if you want to do that.
Jam kit.
Why don't we do the Rebecca Schultz and the land trust thing the same night?
Do you want, is
Do you want to do them?
Is the 21st okay with everybody?
Sure.
It's a Wednesday.
Works for me.
So my
7:30.
question is, if
9:21, yeah.
if I reach out to the gentleman who I've been dealing with at the land trust and the 21st does not work for him, do you still want to do the workshop with Constitution Marsh on the 21st, and then we'll have to look at a later date for HHLT, or?
That would be my preference if we could group them together.
Okay, so if HHLT can't do the 21st, we won't do anybody on the 21st. Okay.
Whatever they can do, because the other one I think is more flexible, so.
Okay. And then, it's not on the agenda, but Supervisor Van Tassel did mention to me that you wanted to schedule Conservation Board interviews.
Yes, we have to interview several applicants for the Conservation Board, so we need to set up interviews. You want to do it the same night, do it at 7 o'clock?
On the 21st?
Yeah.
Sure. So we'll start at
It's what the-
7, 3 10-minute interviews?
There's what, 4 candidates?
Well, there's 4 candidates.
4 candidates.
Excuse me. We can go fast.
Yeah, we can make, these aren't going to be long interviews.
Okay. Next on the agenda is the Code Enforcement Monthly Report. This is for August. Total fees collected was $28,384. There were 34 total permits issued, 2 new 1 or 2 family dwellings, 1 addition, alteration, or repair to a residential building, 33 all other permits, 44 certificates of occupancy. There were 3 stop work orders issued, 4 inspections of public assembly, and 5 inspections of commercial occupancies. And the building inspector would like to remind everyone that burning restrictions are in place due to dry conditions.
Thank you, Greg.
Yeah, well, at least we got a little rain, but it's still dry.
Now, any other business?
I'd just like to mention, we're collecting e-waste again. Like I said, I was up there 2 Saturdays ago. I spent about 4 hours trying to organize everything in that garage. Anyway, so it's been pretty popular so far, so keep them coming. And again, this is a 6-month program as well. Right now, it's for free. There's no municipality out there that I'm aware of at all that would collect e-waste in the future for nothing. So there's probably going to be a charge sooner or later for this if it continues to be the way it's going, because it's pretty popular.
Bob, can that be like, can that be computers as well?
Yes, anything with an extension, anything that's electric.
There's a
is-
list on the website.
There's a list,
There is,
yes.
okay.
There is a list on the website.
And so thanks for Tara for putting it on the website and also doing an email. But it was something that was done for the county for many years. It stopped for over 3 years now, and I was able to get it reinstated. So,
Thank you.
no applause order necessary.
A few items. I did meet with Rebecca Schultz from the interim director of Constitution Marsh, and I'm sure that's why you're here this evening. So they're interested. They're interested in establishing parking again at Constitution Marsh. I assured her, and she's on the same page, that whatever happens down there, the residents of Indian Brook Road will be at the table with that discussion. So when that workshop happens, and I'm assuring you that your quality of life is the most important thing. The residents of that road, their quality of life is the most important thing to me, and I'm sure to the board. You guys have gone through hell. And I'm not saying it was Constitution Marsh generated, it was Indian Brook generated, which is now completely closed. So, well, I think the
supposedly,
bulk of it, hold on I think the bulk of it is there. But the discussion we had with Rebecca, the preliminary discussions, is they are looking to establish a parking area down the driveway, down by the actual site. So, right.
She is certainly thinking in terms of opportunities.
Right.
And got no problem discussing managed access opportunities. There's all kinds of them.
Right.
That wasn't a managed access opportunity.
If you want to be on the record, you
So, absolutely, and then whenever that discussion does take place, that's what we're looking at, is managed access opportunities. There are things in the comprehensive plan about it. There's walkway opportunities and things that could really improve things for all of us, for everybody.
Right. And it's important to access the marsh. I mean, it's a treasure, and it really is. And the community is looking to.
And the current, the pedestrian traffic is fine.
Right.
Not a problem. It's the vehicles start piling up.
Vehicles, buses. Right.
No problem with people doing that.
So that discussion will be held. It'll be we'll have a public workshop once it's determined, then it'll be announced. So, and the other, I wanted to update everybody on Garrison Landing, the water issue there. So we had hired the hydrogeologist, had selected 2 locations on Highland Country Club property, which is owned by OSI. Those two locations were pinpointed. We did get a permit from Putnam County to drill. OSI was resistant, and they were supportive. It ended up that we could not drill there. It would have a detrimental effect on the operation of the golf course because it would prevent them from using chemicals to fertilize and herbicides to prevent bugs on the green 1 hole. So it's off the table. So we're not going to drill a well there. I'm reluctant to try anywhere on the golf course at this point. So the golf course, the owners, OSI, and the potential future owners are open to us piping across the golf course and going directly to the water tower at the rec center, which I still think from the beginning was the best route, and we will pursue that. However, with Ron Gaynor's expertise, he's saying that would take us 12 months at minimum. I mean, it's going to be a large-scale project. It would have to go to bid, engineering, competitive bid. So that is the long-range solution. On the short term, we had the hydrogeologist review the property that we own that also came from OSI on the east side of Route 9. It's referred to as the Osborne property. We did drill 1 test well there that was unsuccessful. The hydrogeologist has found 2 spots that he thinks are favorable for a high-yield well. So we are seeking permits. We discussed this at a workshop the other night. We are just seeking permits with Putnam County to drill another test well on that property. So we've all learned that this 100-foot radius we have to own. The 200-foot radius has to be pollution-free. There are a couple issues with the most preferable well. The 200-foot radius goes on to the neighbors to the south. I've had a conversation with them. They're very open to us utilizing that. It also goes on to the golf course. So it covers a section of 9D. So there's the question of road salt, whether road salt is considered a pollutant. The health department representative said that we need to explore that at our own end. So Ron Gaynor is reviewing the state code as to whether that is considered a pollutant. The hydrogeologist said it's very easy to remove the salt from the well, so he doesn't think it's an issue, but we're pursuing that. The other portion of it does go on to a small area of the golf course, which is OSI property. It's in a rough, and it's also a wetland. So if you're going down 9D where those cattails are, just south of Lower Station Road, that's the area that it goes on to. I've forwarded all the information to the attorney and the engineer and OSI, and they're working on a response. I think it's going to be a favorable response. That's my gut feeling. So that will be our plan to drill this test well. Hopefully we're going to hit water. And then there is a pipe that currently goes under 9D that Bobby has found, and Councilman Flaherty, I apologize, we hope is still intact. If not, it can be sleeved. Again, it was sleeved once. If not, we'll sleeve it again and connect, and our water issue will be temporarily solved, provided we hit water. So that's the game plan right now. So the other thing I wanted to discuss, we have a proposal from AKRF for planning board training. our intentions were to include the Village of Nelsonville, the Village of Cold Spring to help us absorb the cost. Mayor Winward of Nelsonville does not want to partake, so it would just be the town of Phillipstown and the Village of Cold Spring. They have a very small planning board. They don't get a lot of work, so they don't think the investment is worthwhile. So I still think that we should do it, and I think that if we incur $2,500 of the $3,500, I still think it's reasonable. And I just wanted to poll you guys. There is an option that Mayor Winward found. There's a training location in Poughkeepsie where you can go, and it's $90 per person, but I think the easier we make it for our planning board people to partake, it's our responsibility to do that. So, does anybody have any problems with us covering $2,500?
No, I agree. I mean, they need training, and we need to provide training, so I think it's well worth the investment. I mean, they spend a lot of, the planning board, all our boards spend a lot of time, so I think it's well worth
Do the
it.
same thing for the zoning board and conservation, but we need to get planning up to date. So, all right, so then we'll proceed with that. I'll sign the contract and send it back. So that's all I have, thankfully. Anybody else?
No.
Good? You guys good? You had enough for tonight?
Oh, it's going to be a meeting. We didn't have something.
We do have, oh, I'm sorry, Nat, go ahead.
It's not a meeting without Nat. Identify yourself.
Absolutely, you're on.
Greg McGarvis, not the only reason he came tonight.
Gotcha.
Was not the only reason to be an Indian Brook resident. He is also a member of the Comprehensive Plan Committee, as is Richard Butensky, and I'm here as the coordinator of the Comprehensive Plan Committee to go through with what we suggested we were going to go through with, and that is we're going to try to request some time with you to do a workshop, and if you want to go to work on it next week, the 14th, did you speak for the 14th, or do you want to leave yourself some time?
I have no problem with the 14th.
Here's what we're going to do. It's just a reminder. You remember when we passed the comprehensive plan, we put something new in it. And in it, we said that we're going to have a standing comprehensive plan committee, something that's not existed before. Last time, comprehensive plan committees come together, they hate each other after 3 years of seeing each other for that long, and they disperse and they never want to see each other again. This group wants to stay at it because we want to make it a living document. We want it to, there's 150 things in it to do. We need to make a manageable process out of it. We've met several times this summer to try to come up with the 5 or 10 things that make most sense. Managed access to Constitution Marsh is on that list. The Conservation Preservation Plan is on that list. A lot of things you're already talking about are on that list, but we just need a little time to tee this up with you, as the Comprehensive Plan Goal 13 actually calls for. A standing committee and an annual meeting with you around budget time. So I'm here to try to schedule that meeting for you and for us.
Let's do it the 14th. You guys good with the 14th? Yeah. Wednesday the 14th?
I mean, kind of like next Wednesday.
Yeah, that would be it.
Sure. No, we're ready.
Good?
Sorry, Nancy. Yes.
Yeah.
Continental Village Clubhouse, I'm going to meet with them. I didn't know if you wanted to. We're going to talk about the bridge project and bring Putnam County Highway.
I'll let you go down, unless you need backup.
I
I'll go with it. All right, so can we do it? Should we do it another week?
We can do it anywhere, anytime you want, but you've already
The
booked up.
28th is off.
21st is out because we just scheduled a workshop for them. The 28th is out because we have
Can we do October? Is October's?
Sure. We can do it, but I just want to keep you to it because
Let's do the 28th. I don't know.
There's an issue.
there's an issue.
Oh,
We'll let
okay.
you know. Yeah, it's nothing bad. You didn't check your email.
So the 28th is out.
Right.
we're going to lose Greg if we go to October the 5th, but we're going to do the best we can for all of you. So if October 5th is our allotted spot.
October 5th is Yom Kippur.
Yeah.
It's Yom Kippur.
When are you back?
It's just that week on the West Coast.
Okay.
It's Yom Kippur.
It's Yom Kippur. October 4th.
Oh, let's keep moving it out.
Should I put it on the October agenda to be scheduled? Because now we're
There we
already
go.
into the
We
next
just want a
meeting.
little reservation that we're in
I'll
line.
add it
We
to-
want to make sure we're in line.
Add it to the agenda for October 6th to schedule it for October at some point.
Can we hold
'Cause
off?
that's
Do
our
you think
next.
that these burning issues going to hold until then?
Will they manage? You guys all right till then? Okay, we'll see you in
I
October.
think they will. The point really is that we just wanted to make sure that you knew that we're here, that we live to serve.
We'll never forget.
You tell us what you want us to do, but we would like to help you keep this document that you took a lot of trouble over live and breathe and be useful to you. It's already being quoted by people who come in here. Maybe not all the people we want, but nonetheless, it's out there. And we need to make it live, and we're delighted that you would give us the opportunity.
We'll be there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else from the audience? Yes, Richard.
Is it okay if I make a quick comment about the application for the for the zoning,
There
for the
will be a
change of zoning?
public hearing, but-
So it's probably what you already know, but I'm going to say it anyway. So this zoning change, I have no real problem with the zoning change going to residential. I think that'd be a good thing. But the only purpose behind it is to benefit the applicant so they can get a couple of more houses. And in and of itself, there's nothing wrong with that either. But, there's no danger as long, it would be bad for their community to have it used as a strip club or as a mine or anything like that. They don't want that, and that'll never happen. So the point is, their attorney uses whatever leverage he can to pressure the planning board, as is his job. And to me, this is leverage for the planning board or for the board to use to get what you want. And so they want a couple extra houses, terrific. But also the town would like, at least a lot of people in the town would like this conservation subdivision to look a little more like a conservation subdivision rather than a typical subdivision, which is in the law. So to me, give them their two houses, but get something for it. That's my only point.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, vacancies, Conservation Board 1, we're going to have the interviews this month, so hopefully that'll be taken care of. Approval of vouchers, general.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Highway,
So moved.
second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Continental Village Park District,
Second.
a motion.
Motion.
Second, please. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Continental Village Water District,
So moved.
second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you.
Did anybody